Hello there, welcome to my channel once again, Nana Matrix or Nana Econometrics. If today is your first time joining us, kindly click on the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any equally important subsequent videos. We have come a long way, right from how to choose a research topic. We moved then to literature review in research. Then we moved on to what entails in research methodology. Our current video is on how to write a good research methodology. In today's episode, we will be talking about one of the profound common challenges in the field of academia, which happens to be managing student-supervisor relationship. And with me here is one of the seasoned and renowned lecturers from Kumasi Technical University. She is a PhD candidate with much experience as far as human relation is concerned, and therefore will be taking so much basic tips and insights from her as far as how best to manage these student-teacher relationship or supervisor-student relationship to ensure a success in study. There is a saying that the success of a student study basically depends on a good supervisory process, and therefore it is of much importance for us to look into this topic because it's a common problem within the sphere of academics. Welcome, Mrs. Jewa Owusu-Nkwata-Bisa. Because of COVID, we cannot have a good handshake or proper welcome, but let's have a high five in the sky.
Thank you.
It's a great privilege to have you on our channel, and we are so much eager waiting that you bombard us with your profound knowledge in the sphere of study.
The pleasure is mine.
Welcome once again, Mrs. Ejewa Owusu-Nkwata-Bisa. It's a great privilege to have you on our channel. You're looking good.
Thank you.
Today's topic, we want to discuss managing supervisor-student relationship, which happens to be a common pain for most students as far as postgraduate study is concerned. And with you here, we believe you are going to share with us much knowledge as far as handling this situation or relationship is concerned. So our first question I want to put across is, basically when we talk about managing supervisor-student relationship, in the simplest of terms, what does it mean?
It's a pleasure being on your channel. When we talk about supervisor-student relationship, I'll first take it from the word relationship. The writer, May Silton, explains to us that for human relationships are not static like the galaxies. So you need to work for every relationship to get the best out of it. And for supervisor-student relationships, there needs to be working in it so that your academics can come out successfully. All right, so I'll first start with who is a supervisor for us to understand. Then we can proceed to the pros, the cons, the advantages, what the student is supposed to do. Where is the word supervision coming from? Let me break it down into two. The first is super. When we talk about super, we are talking about something over, something better, something above the average, not the usual. So that is super. When we talk about vindate, we are saying is to see, to consult, an overseer. So when I put it together, vindate is the vision. It's an intensive, an intensive interpersonal focused, one-on-one relationship between a supervisor, that is the one who oversees, and a student. And the relationship is to facilitate the student in his or her academic development.
Okay.
All right, so for the person doing research, whether in PhD or having his or her master's, you need to have some things concrete to work out your relationships. And usually it depends on so many factors, but experts group them into two various types, whether it is institutional or it's personal.
Okay.
And if it is personal, It means we are going to talk about this, what I'm going to propose, and I am going to deal mostly with the personal stuff here. So for the first factor we are going to talk about with the personal stuff is expertise.
Okay.
The expertise of both the supervisor and that of the student. Usually, most of the students go into this relationship with expectations that their supervisors are the ones to work for them.
Okay.
No, students should realize that you are going into academia. Academia means you are going to research, you are going to find more knowledge. So you go there prepared. The footballer goes in there with his boots, his shin guard, and everything that will help him play good football.
True.
So before you enter into any research program to get your degree, you need to be equipped in the area that you are going to work with. So the first place, one needs to consider his or her expertise, the background to the research program that the person is going into. And it also depends on the supervisor, the expertise of the supervisor. But because we are mostly dealing with students for this first part, I'll talk about the student expertise. They should be well equipped. If you're a business student, you should get your tools necessary for research. If you're a scientist, you should know the tools for your research. If you are into engineering, you're into the humanities, you should know what to expect.
Okay.
All right.
So basically, in the nutshell, we can say that supervisor-student relationship is a complex relationship, just like any other relationship, like marriage, which involves a whole lot of great deals, such as gender, nationality, social setting, expertise, convergent and divergent viewed, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so on that note, we want to move on to our next question, which is types of supervisor. Why do I say type of supervisor? Because we are most probably of encountering different types of supervisors, since we have different personalities, different people. We are all unique though. So since you have much experience in this field, we want to know what are some of the supervisors we are most probably to encounter.
All right, thank you. I'm going to talk about supervisors, and this is not limited to any particular supervisor, but out of my relationship with my students and with my supervisors, I just want to put them under these four main categories. Okay, so the first types of supervisor I'm going to talk about are the conflicting supervisors. The conflicting supervisors, and then under these, I'm going to talk about three sub-supervisors. The first one is the clone supervisor. So when I talk about the clone supervisor, it's any type of relationship where the supervisor wants the student to be a replica.
Okay.
So the supervisor wants to give birth to his own. The supervisor wants to play God. The supervisor will intentionally make the student toe his line. So every research the student wants to must follow that of the supervisor. Varying from it to another becomes a problem. So the close supervisor will want you, the student, to toe his line, to replicate what he has done, to see himself in you. Good. The second one under conflicting supervisors, I'll talk about the combat supervisor. Usually, this type of supervisors will give you intellectual torment. Anything that the student comes with is disregarded, and there is interrogation about what the student has done. So you can see that a supervisor will one day be like this, but number two, he is like the clone. You can have some supervisors having these two things embedded in them. So the combat one will give you stress. That's why it's a conflicting supervisor. He will just give you the police type of supervision. What went into this? How did you do that? How is this coming from? Where is that? Every day giving you questions. So what you do is regarded. And mostly students under this supervision have low self-esteem. They are not able to come out with their best. But with proper workout, as we will know later, you know that you can come out of this also successfully. The third one under the conflicting supervision, I'll talk about the collateral damage. So the first one I was talking about the clone, where you replicate, the combat, who will give you intellectual torment, and then the third one, the collateral damage. Here, you see that your supervisor is a highly powered supervisor. In the institution that you are in, the university or the research institute, you see that he's a very powered supervisor, and you can have a minimal contact with him. Seeing him becomes difficult. Mostly, he just delegates the administrative works to you, and most of your research works are relegated to the background. So today he's traveling to this place, tomorrow he's at this meeting, and the next day he's somewhere. So in a brief, for conflicting supervisors, we are talking about the clone, we are talking about the combat, we are talking about the collateral damage supervision. All right? So let's go on to the second type of supervision. From conflicting, we are going on to a supervisor who is depressing. Very, very depressing. And under this, I'm going to talk about 3 areas again under the depressor supervision. The first one is the cheap labor supervisor.
Okay.
Here, power is imbalanced. He just relegates you to secondary role, like the second one, from the conflicting one. For the conflicting one, you know he's highly powered. But for this one, you know you can see him. But power here, he's seen as cheap. You are secondary to him. Just do my administrative stuff for me. And then we'll talk about research later. So usually he sees you as a secondary role person, not coming in to work with him, but he will use you for his administrative works. Secondly, let's talk about a champ supervisor. He will over-familiarize with you, become friends. He will network you with family and relegate your supervision. You go to the house, you can cook together, you meet with other supervisors. He's very friendly with you, over-friendly. When you bring your topic, oh wait, he knows your family, he knows your friends, what's going on. You can talk about everything. Maybe you are even talking about the same football that you watch or series that you watch. So the champ supervisor becomes over familiar with you.
Okay.
And necessary not with the research. I hope you are getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Good. Under this depressing, it becomes depressing to the students. So under the depressor supervision, I will go and talk about the third one, which is the ghost supervisor.
Wow.
The ghost. And usually ghost hunts us.
Yeah.
So ghosts, you can't see them. You rarely see them.
Okay.
They will occasionally respond to your emails. You go to their offices, you are not finding them. You don't get good responses for them. For students who are with much independence, who know what they want to do, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's very okay for them. They can go on with their work. But for students who are a bit lower with research, it becomes a problem. It becomes very depressing for them.
True.
So for under depressor supervision, I retrain the 3. The cheap labor, the one who will use you for his administrative work only. The champ, who is very friendly with you, talks anything but your research. And the ghost hunters, the one that you will rarely see, the one that your emails are not responded to, the one that you want to go to his office, you are not seeing, and the one who is depressing you the most, the ghost. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we've talked about the conflicting. We've talked about the depressors. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. And the next one we'll talk about is those who give you anxiety disorders.
Wow.
They will just make you anxious. Anxious. So under these 2, I'll go on and talk about the 3. So for all these, I'm talking about 3. The first one I'll talk about is the counselor supervisor. Even though supervision has in itself mentoring, some of our supervisors go to the extent of being taking care of their students. They play the role of the pastor, the shepherd.
Okay.
They will feed their sheep. So your emotional needs, they are there. They will counsel you. Their affective domain overrides you getting into those cognitive aspects of research.
Wow.
So here he will counsel you, he will be your counselor in terms of relationships. You have confidence in him. You will talk about everything but your research. Your research will be relegated to second fiddle.
Wow.
All right. So the counselor, even though is good, overdoing it becomes a problem. You become anxious. Okay, you become an anxiety supervisor. The next one we'll talk about is the creepy crawlers. These type of supervisors, they are creepy and they are crawling. They come out as stalking their students. They come as slow, but they go on to create unhealthy relationships for their students. So as time goes on, they try and have affection in a love situation for their students, especially when the gender comes here again, when it comes to man and female. And you know, in our world, when even some people are turned gay, some people can even go on and have those love feelings for their counterpart males or for their counterpart females. And if those relationships comes into play, they creepy crawl into your research works, and instead of you to research further, it becomes an anxiety on the student's head. You're always anxious. Is my supervisor doing this? You can see, but maybe he doesn't open the mouth to tell you, but you can see the moves. So slowly but surely, he's coming into your life and he wants to win you over for love.
Wow.
It becomes so much of a problem. The next one under anxiety supervisors is the captivate and con. So here he comes aggressive. He comes aggressive. The creepy ones are slow under the carpet or in the green grass. It's subtle. But here he's captivating and he's conning you. The rules are clear. I want you. I want you. And when it becomes so clear like that, students, because we give much reverence to their supervisors, become dampened emotionally. All their minds to go on with their research becomes a problem. What if I don't give in? Where am I supposed to report this? So these unhealthy relationships which come out from the supervisor brings a problem between the two people. So this supervisor is coming your way to captivate you, capture you as a captive, and con. And bringing out your problem as a student gives you anxiety disorders. These types of supervisors can even give sicknesses to their students, and it becomes a major problem. All these three types of supervision I'm talking about are on the negative side. Even if you see these traits in your supervisors, you need to work it. There is a way to work it. There is a way to get matured and work around these supervisors. Even if you meet them as this, some even being coming as creepy, some being vocal with their thoughts, some coming as just counselors, friends, they will bring you a problem. But if you are matured enough, you work your background and you can overcome these issues. So I'll go on to the next supervisor, which is the best one if you want to work with. That is the colleague in training. And that one, I'll not talk about any subs. If your supervisor and you have cordial relationships, it means he's mentoring you. He's guiding you. Even where you don't know things, he teaches you issues. He gives you the methods, the recent methods. Even if he is not conversant with it, he goes on and gives you to another person you can learn from. So he gives you the basis you can research upon. Research practices, he's professional with you. For like a married relationship, we talk about supervision as professional. So it's about professionalism with your students. And for a supervisor to do that with you, the student needs to work out. So in a nutshell, these are some of the supervision types you go and see. You go and see. You might see 2 or 3 in a supervisor. You might see none in a supervisor.
Okay.
As I said from the beginning, human beings are not static
Yeah.
like the orbits and the galaxies.
Yeah.
We change.
Yeah, we change.
We change every day. So this might be some of the hindrances you go and see. But if you want to be a good colleague in training, then we'll go on to the next thing that we'll talk about.
Okay, yeah,
Right.
okay. So basically, in the nutshell, these are 4 main basic type that we might
Yes.
probably encounter in our field of study, running from the conflicting one to the disorder and the anxiety, the colleague in training. Yes. Okay, so basically these are. But I had a question I wanted to find out. Supposing you happen to find yourself or you encounter such negative trait of supervision, what is the most practical way to handle, especially when you find maybe a creeping and a calling supervisor? You happen to find one as your supervisor. How best do you handle this so that it doesn't affect your academics?
When we're starting, and even in research, people are researching and we see that we are seeing it's human.
Yeah.
In any human settings, we can find these traits everywhere. So institutions are now building settings that students might not encounter these in the most of their options.
Okay.
So what we are finding out is mostly the supervisory board will be there for you to talk to.
Okay.
There are school counselors for you to go to talk to. Sometimes you can find 2 or 3 supervisors that you can talk to. And for you, you need to put boundaries around you.
Okay.
Sometimes it might be what you bring on board that might energize, ignite that demon in the supervisor.
Okay.
So let's work on ourselves as students. And as we go on with the discussion, I'll be taking us through what the student should do and what he shouldn't do for him to get the best from his supervisor.
Okay, so having said that, let me make the question more practical. So what should a student do in order to ensure having a good supervisor-student relationship?
My dear students, as we embark into research, we should make sure, one, we are honest. And to be honest means you should know yourself. One, be a good communicator.
Okay.
In this world, everything starts with communication. What you say and what you do, your actions will say. So one, start the conversation early with your supervisor. And start on a good note. Start on a good note. Read a lot of literature if you want to start on a good note. Watch a lot of YouTube videos like Nana Econometrics.
Yeah.
Okay. Watch your non-verbal actions. Respect your timely manners. Let's see how we appreciate time. Establish boundaries around you and your supervisor. If it's in the office, make sure you move to places where you can be seen. If you even see things that are getting out of hand, and seek permission for every meeting that you have to meet with your supervisor. All right, so that is for a good communicator. The second one is get a good social backing. Okay, so one, your social network should be very solid and bright. Turn to other colleagues for help. We are all not all knowing. I turn to you, you help me, I also help you in what you don't know. So help somebody for somebody to help you. All right. Evaluate yourself from your peers. How did I do? Did I do well? Make room for people to criticize you. Have people around, a social setting around who can give you good comments and bad comments. Give yourself time to relax. Get the right people to relax with by watching good videos, good conversations, discussing good things. Alright, and you can also be a good team player in the social setting. with your friends, if you are good, good will come back to you. If you are bad, definitely bad things will also turn to you. What I want to tell us is that personally, you should be dedicated and committed.
Okay.
Be smart. Motivate yourself. Read motivational quotes. Be creative. Don't always be the norm. Change things. Be skillful with your work. Hard work does not break bones.
Okay.
So do your hard work and pray for favor. Even though that should have been the first one. Yeah. So always pray for favor in anywhere that you go. But what people do not usually know, is for you to be successful, people will just see, it's like the iceberg. We just see your top, you having your certificates, having a good supervisor. But you need to be dedicated, hard work, good habits, work out things. Okay? You encounter failure. You be persistent. Sometimes you need to go on, but you are getting drawbacks. Your work can be cancelled. You need to make sacrifices. Instead of you eating, maybe you need to read a paper. So all this hard work must go into it to impress your supervisor and also come out with good papers, good research works. And as the iceberg, we'll see you with flying colors, where people will say, oh, you've done well, but much work was done in the background. So that is the role of the students, what you should do.
Wow, impressive. So basically, the supervisor-student relationship is a two-way affair, and this one gives us much details of the responsibility or the expectation of a student. That is what a student should do in order to ensure a good relationship, to yield a better supervisory system that will help them to realize their aim or goals of what academics attainment. And therefore, as you made mention of the student being dedicated and committed, the student being a good communicator, and the student also ensure a good social network to build up. So basically, these are the three main arrows or areas the students should look at in order to ensure a good relationship with the supervisor, right?
Yes.
Great. I believe we have had a great and a wonderful time. So we started with what the supervisory role is and what it entails. That is in order to ensure a good supervisor-student relationship. And we move on to the types of supervisors we are most probable to encounter in our field of study. And we move on to the roles of a student in order to ensure that he builds a good relationship that will help them attain their academic goals. So before we draw down the curtains, I want to ask Mrs. Ejewa Owusu Nkwantabisa, your final words for our students.
Thank you. And I'm glad I came today. So finally, I want to leave our students with 3 do's and 3 don'ts.
Okay.
3 do's, 3 don'ts. And the 3 do's, I'll say 1. The 3 D's. Be disciplined. Be disciplined. Be dedicated. Be determined. Be disciplined, be dedicated, be determined. What you should never do. What you should never do. 3 P's.
Okay.
3 P's you should never do. Don't prejudge. Do not prejudge your supervisor. Don't pretend. If you don't know, you don't know. Seek for help. Even if it's your colleague or your junior.
Okay.
Don't pretend. 3, avoid pride. Avoid pride. So with this, I will end here and I'll thank you for bringing me to the show.
Thank you so much also for honoring our invitation, and I believe we have all had a wonderful time. This is Nana Econometrics, and I am in the person of Benedict Atta. Let's keep watching, let's keep subscribing, and constantly let's invite and share this channel with our colleagues to also partake and enjoy the rich knowledge that is being passed on. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
you.